Hey, this is Sarah Noel Black, CEO and Head of Marketing Strategy for Tiny Marketing, and this is our weekly show where we give you actionable advice that you can implement today. Today, we're going to learn all about ClubHouse from Ruthie Bowles, CEO of Defy the Status Quo and expert on authentic branding. She knows how to increase your personal brand awareness, so she's the one to talk to about this. She's using ClubHouse to do just that. She's here to teach us how it all works. ClubHouse is brand new. I have no idea how to use it, and I'm excited to learn from Ruthie today. So I am going to bring her on. And here we go. Hi.
Hello. Woo. Happy Friday.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
So, as you know, I am clueless when it comes to ClubHouse. We were on a Zoom call the other day, and you had brought up ClubHouse. And I was like, I have no idea anything about this. Teach me. So, for anybody who's watching right now and has no clue how to use ClubHouse, can you tell me how it works?
Absolutely. Before I go into that, though, I always like to include my disclaimer for anybody. Woo woo. Hey, Sylvia. For anybody who's watching, I'm very big on like ethics in marketing. So if you are watching, don't consider this as some type of directive that you must go do this, because you haven't talked to Sarah, you haven't talked to me for us to like sit down and kind of evaluate and look at where you're going and what you want to do. So this is my experience, and I have several clients who are on ClubHouse. So I do that type of consulting, but again, this is not me like, everybody get on ClubHouse, woo! Like, it might not be a fit for you. So I just want to kind of preface everything I'm going to say with that. So you're looking at ClubHouse. ClubHouse is an audio-only app. And essentially, it's like, imagine that you're in a hallway full of doors, like you're in a hotel room, basically, or a hotel, like in the hallway on the floor of a hotel. And there's all these doors. And instead of room numbers, all of the hotel doors, all the room doors have topics on them and a list of people who are already in the room talking about this topic, right? And so when you open up ClubHouse, that's what it is. It's called your hallway, and you can scroll your hallway to see what rooms are happening and what topics. And then like you can even see like who some of the people are. ClubHouse prioritizes people in the room are people who you follow. So it usually shows somewhere between like 3 to, the first like 3 to 7 people maybe, and it'll prioritize people that you actually follow. And so that is ClubHouse essentially. And so when you click a room, you go into the room and you are in the audience by default, unless you were listed as a host of the event. But we're assuming you're new, so you're in the audience. If you are followed by somebody who's up on stage, you're in the special followed by speakers area. Good place to be. Yes. Yeah, that's one step above the audience. So your audience is at the bottom, and then followed by the speakers is next, and then the actual speakers are on top. Now, some stages are really big, so you got to scroll for a lot. But let's assume let's say there's like 6 people already on stage. That's what you would see. You would see the speakers, you would see followed by the speakers, and then other people in the audience. And so that's what happens is people are just talking about these different topics. There's value in good moderators, because those are the people who typically start the rooms. They're like the room hosts. And they guide the conversation. So when I've moderated and led rooms myself, and when I do it, I like to have like a list of a few questions, but really it's just to, keep conversation going, and you never know where it's going to go. So that's kind of the brilliance of it, is it's not scripted. It's very like off the cuff. And I think that's kind of what attracts people to it, because very much like video, like right here, we're live right now. And I think part of the appeal of live content and then content like ClubHouse is that it's not scripted. Like, this is me and you, and this is what we're going to do. And if I make a mistake, like it is what it is now. It's out there, right? I'm not going to be able to change it. So I think that's part of the appeal. So that's kind of ClubHouse in a nutshell. It's people having conversations. And then there's also people who want to listen to folks have conversations. And so it really kind of takes fireside chat and like kind of puts a whole new spin on it.
So the way you're describing it, it's making me picture, and tell me if I'm wrong, it's making me picture like an audio version of a Facebook group where you have moderators and then like the host of the group and engagement questions. Is that right? Visualizing it right?
Like it's very close, except it's all real time. So if you're not in the room when that topic is happening, you missed it. So it capitalizes
so it just
on the
disappears.
Yeah, like it's ephemeral. It's like your Instagram stories, your LinkedIn stories, like it's gone. Like people can so like Sylvia's been in some I've been in rooms with Sylvia, and like it's live with no video and multiple people, and it's not scripted. And I guess the difference though, it's multiple people. But Sarah, like if we were both on Clubhouse right now, let's say I was doing a room and then you logged in the Clubhouse, you're like, oh, Ruthie's doing a room, let me pop in there. So you could pop in there, I'd see you're in there, and I'm like, oh, Sarah's gonna love this topic, we're talking marketing, let's bring Sarah up on the stage. So boom, surprise, you are now a speaker on stage because I was speaking on stage. I'm a moderator, let's say, and I know you. So I'm like, yeah, Sarah, let's invite Sarah up to speak. And if you can speak, then there you go. So that's the thing, is like Clubhouse is almost like just this scroll opportunity of potential like speaking engagements almost. Improv, right? It's like improv speaking events. You roll the dice and see what happens when you go into the room. So I think that's probably the biggest difference between what we're doing right now and what people do, what I do on Clubhouse. Because if this was Clubhouse, somebody could come, and if we were like, oh yeah, let's bring them up, or if they asked to speak, we could bring them right into the live. Surprise.
Okay. All right. So I get why this makes sense for like what you do, authentic personal branding. You're in the moment. You can't be scripted. You have to be yourself.
Yep.
And you have an opportunity to show your expertise.
Yep.
All right. I get the appeal of it. So when you're first starting, how do you gain an audience?
So when you're first starting, you want to make sure that you're following people who have the audience that you at least initially believe you would like to get in front of. And so that means not following the recommended followers. They recommend like the same 48 people to everybody. So if you do follow them, then you're going to get rooms in your hallway that you probably don't want to see. And so like, for example, Dr. AJ, Dr. Aparajita Girigunta. I followed, she's like my business friend. She's friend. Like we haven't met in real life yet, kind of like me and you, Sarah. But she was the one who brought me on Clubhouse, and I just spent the first few weeks following her around because I trusted her. So I was like, okay, let me see how this is done. Let me see what the standards are. Let me see what I should be doing before I pop into rooms where I may feel like, unsafe even, because that type of thing happens. And that's a whole nother live stream, but trauma dumping is like a huge thing on there. So you have to be careful. And I say that as somebody who talks about their trauma experiences as part of the topics that they speak on. Some people are just not nearly as careful about how they unexpectedly trigger folks. And so I'll just say that. Yeah. So I followed her around, and then I found other people that I liked I followed them around. And so I built those kind of relationships. And the more I did that, then I was like, okay, let me get up on stage because I know about this topic. I know this person, so they know that I'm going to, deliver some good stuff. And so that's how I did it. Like, I was like, okay, who has audiences that I would like to have? Who's doing rooms that line up with the things that I want to talk about? Because I'm looking for an opportunity to contribute, right? I'm looking for an opportunity to improve the quality of the room for everybody, right? And so, like, that's actually the first step. Like, so I kind of identified like a Clubhouse growth strategy formula. And that was the first step, is what's your intention getting on there? What is is your intention to just get up there and run your mouth? Then yeah, you're going to find ample opportunities to do that, but people probably won't like you very much. They won't want you to be in their rooms. They won't necessarily invite you to come up on stage. And they probably won't hype you up if you manage to get on the stage, because they just feel like you're never offering anything of value. You're just offering like smoke and vapors, right? So intention is the first part of the equation. Consistency is the next one. So you're consistently showing up, not necessarily consistently creating your own stuff, but you consistently show up. So you can consistently show up and contribute to other people's rooms, people who have already done like regularly scheduled stuff. And then through that consistency, you build familiarity with people. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, oh, okay, yeah. And they know that they can start to count on you. And this is where they're like, oh, Sarah's popped into the room. Let's see if she can speak right now. So they'll send you the invite. You don't even have to ask. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I could talk right now. And then you come up on stage. And then, so I love to do this. And I'm in rooms where people do it all the time. But once they've gotten to know you, they'll do stuff like, oh my goodness, you guys, I'm so happy Sarah showed up. I didn't tell her about the room, but here she is. And she's an amazing marketer. And, you know, she works with small businesses, and all of her recommendations and all of her live streams, you guys got to go follow her on LinkedIn, and it's like they're hyping you up and you're like, I didn't even say anything.
Yes.
Yeah. And so people do that. It happens all the time. And like I said, I make a point to do it in my own rooms. So that way people know, like, hey, if you're following me and you like what I have to say, you're also going to like what this person has to say, because here I am hyping them up. And so that's what happens once you're consistent and you kind of build that familiarity. And then finally, just focus on saying things of significance, focus on saying things of merit, right? And focus on really, like, you know, that authenticity piece, because what you have to say is going to resonate with some people and not with others. But those are the 4 areas: intention, consistency, familiarity, and merit.
Okay. So, I mean, that just makes me think of what you should be doing with all content marketing: being yourself, showing your personality, and adding value.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hear adding value so much on Clubhouse. So that is why I said merit and significance. I actually did a whole live stream on how tired I was of using the word value. I was like, I need to find something else to use. But so I know that this is titled, like, you know, getting clients on Clubhouse. But I wanted to bring up, again, just because we have that like marketer's perspective, is way before I started getting clients off of Clubhouse, Clubhouse served a different function. Well, it served, I guess, a simultaneous function, because yeah, sure, of course it'd be nice to get clients on Clubhouse, but I'm not out here like, buy my stuff. All right. Like, that's not what's happening. Like, sign up, buy today. Like, that's, and there are people who do that. So I just want to make sure that we're making a distinction there. Like, I'm showing up in entrepreneur rooms, marketing rooms, branding rooms, mindset rooms, sometimes entrepreneur and parenting, and there's interesting combinations there. I'm a veteran, so I show up in vetpreneur rooms. And I just get up there and I'm like, okay, well, let's talk. Like, if we're talking about whatever, okay, let's talk about it. And I'm just focusing on putting myself out there and letting people see me. And then they can make up their own minds after that. Like, I've been on other people's podcasts. I've had people on my podcast that I've met on Clubhouse. I did a speaking opportunity earlier this week where I got to speak to teenage girls. And it was because
of Clubhouse?
Well, no, it was off of Clubhouse, but it happened because of someone I met on Clubhouse.
Oh, nice.
And I was talking to them about being bold. And I never would have met this person. Well, I don't want to say never, but like, Clubhouse was it.
That sounds like a good speaking engagement for you, right up your alley.
It made me feel really good to be able to do that and share my story with them, because it was around that age that I was struggling myself. I think we all kind of struggle around that age, but you know, it's a rough age. So I was like, I just remember struggling. So I was really happy to share my story and some of my thoughts. And I felt like I had, you know, a real impact. But that was what I focused on, is relationship building. Right. And then the other things that happen out of it, like, I've had people be like, Ruthie, what you just said about like really putting yourself into your marketing and showing up authentically, like, I need that. I need to know more about what you're talking about. Can we get on a call like ASAP? Like, that's what happens. And so, but the way before, so besides relationship building and looking at these other opportunities, one of my favorite things about Clubhouse is it's an amazing content testing lab.
Sharing ideas you have, or like micro pieces of content that you're thinking about expanding on.
Yeah, I would say, so I went live every single day in March. And I would say at least 90, if not 95% of the ideas for those live streams came from a conversation that I had on Clubhouse, and not a room that I made. It was usually a room I said something and people were like, what? Ruthie's dropping gems. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I would just write the idea down. I'd be like, and my lives are like 10 minutes because I'm just by myself usually. So I'm like, yeah, I could talk about that for 10 minutes. Okay, cool. And then I get on StreamYard, I do my little banners and stuff and set up, break out the topic a little bit. And then I get on and talk for 10 minutes. But these 10-minute lives have been so amazing because I'll take the link and people ask me a question. I'll be like, I just went live about that last week. Let me send you the link. And what does that do? It's like, okay, now we're not on Clubhouse anymore. We're probably on Instagram in the DMs, but the link I've given you to this live takes you somewhere else. Right. Yes. And you watch it and you know it's only 10 minutes. So they're really happy about it. So it's a fantastic place to test these content concepts. Right. So it's like before you make the blog post, before you record the video where you're going to be doing all the editing and like these high effort productions. Clubhouse, you can pop into a room about a topic that you're wondering about, like, hey, should I create content around this? Drop some of your ideas in there, see how people react in real time and make note of it. I'm like,
I love that idea. Yeah. And
yeah, like as a marketer, I know you appreciate the value in that type of real-time feedback, whereas like, oh, I posted it and nobody commented.
Yeah. You could really do that with any social channel for people who are watching. Start with micro content, posting something that you're considering talking about and expanding on. I'll do that on LinkedIn sometimes. I'll put together a post, see the reaction. If people liked it and were engaged in it, then I'll make it something bigger. I'll make it a show or a blog. But Clubhouse is awesome because it's live and you can interact with people in real time. So it's not like that delayed feedback.
Right. Yeah. And it's like if you're in a room where, so I guess one of the biggest differences though, yeah, hey, Tyler. Yeah, so Clubhouse as a tester for sure. But one of the big things though is when you post on these social media platforms, right? LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, the algorithm dictates who's going to see what. But if you're on Clubhouse and you're in a room that's got even 10 people in it, you know at least 10 people are going to hear it. If that room has 30 people, you know 30 people are going to hear it, and so on and so forth. So if you get on a stage where there's hundreds of people listening, you know hundreds of people are going to hear what it is that you have to say. And if it really is like, whoa, then the people on the stage are going to respond too. And so I think that's probably the key difference is that before you say it, you already know who is going to hear it, how many people are going to hear it. And sometimes even just saying it, you're like, oh, that was good. Sometimes you impress yourself when you're going off the cuff, right? You're not really thinking hard because it's going straight from your brain to your mouth almost. And you're like, oh, that was good. I felt good saying that. Let me write that down. I'm so smart.
Oh, please. Yeah. That I need to close out my Slack. Someone's blowing me up on there. Can you hear the beeping?
No, I couldn't actually. So,
like something interesting is happening on Slack right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me more about the rooms? So you said you can search for rooms. It's not just the ones that are just in your hallway.
Well, so if you want to get in other rooms, you can look at the calendar and, keep in mind, Clubhouse is still in beta, so we can't actually search for rooms yet. A lot of times the rooms that you see will be based on the people that you follow.
Yes.
So
I remember you saying that. So you cannot search for rooms if you're like when you just go on and you're like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah. So what you can do though, you can search for people. Right? You can search for clubs. Clubs are like Facebook groups, basically. And so you can search for clubs. And so if you know, like marketing, that's an easy one. There's tons of clubs around marketing. So if you know that those are topics you want to touch on or get involved with, then you could follow some of the top marketing clubs on Clubhouse because they will run regular rooms related to topics about marketing. Same for things like diversity, equity, inclusion, parenting, art, music, entrepreneurship in general, and you can get even more granular. There's supply chain clubs and things like that. So like it really breaks up. And so there's sales clubs, really so you can search for clubs, and because of that, you would find more people to follow, but you would be alerted when the clubs run rooms. So that, sometimes that can be more beneficial than following individual people. But it really just depends.
I just got an invite right before this video, before we went on this video. So I'm going to pop in and do the club thing. I like that idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is there anyone on Clubhouse right now that you think that our people should be following that are always dropping some gems? I'm
Yes.
putting you on the spot. I did not ask you this question ahead of time.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this because I'm involved with it, but there's a room that happens at 9 Eastern time. It's called the Entrepreneurs Lab. That's the name of the club. So you can search the Entrepreneurs Lab and follow the club. But 9 a.m. Eastern time, so 6 a.m. Pacific, we do different rooms on things. Now, I was showing up pretty much every day for this club in this room. And then they asked me, they're like, Ruth, you're always up here talking and really helping and like moving the conversation and stuff. Would you mind becoming an admin for the club? So I was like, okay, so now I'm a member of the club, but this would have been probably the same answer for your audience, this audience that we have with us right now. It would have been the same answer. So the Entrepreneurs Lab is a club I recommend. It's a great, for me, I think if you haven't done a lot on Clubhouse, it's a wonderful club to start in because the rooms, typically don't get more than like 30 or 40 people. But if you raise your hand, they will let you come up. You can talk. There'll be conversation. So it's a very welcoming environment. So it would be like if you're an entrepreneur and this is like your first foray or you haven't been on there recently, that would be a club and therefore a room that I would recommend because of the atmosphere that's created. And it's just very welcoming. And yeah, so that would be the one for sure.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get on that one. I'll do that one. And then, so you mentioned that you had started your own rooms. At what point should people be starting their own rooms?
Okay. So I'm going to try to be fast with this one because this is a mistake people make all of the time. So I will start and lead my own rooms, but I always, oh, it's Evelyn. Evelyn, thank you. She's got her little ponies. Evelyn, can you go back in the living room for me? I'm almost done. Okay. Do you want to say hello?
Does she want to say hi?
They always want to say hi. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, I'm almost done. Okay. And then I'll make lunch. But so I'll start and I'll lead it, but I will ask specific people like, hey, do you want to co-mod this room with me? Co-moderate. And so that's really the key. So unless you have a huge following of people, so you starting your own room, especially if you haven't scheduled it and like promoted it ahead of time, is probably not going to lead to much. It'll be very discouraging and disappointing, and then you will quit. But if it's me, and it's you, and then we're like, hey, Sylvia, do you want to co-mod? And then Ruthie knows another good marketer. So there's a person I connected with. Her name's Humaira, and she's an amazing brand strategist. So I would ask her if she wants to co-mod, and we're all talking like marketing stuff. So let's say it's us four. Other people will come and go, but we will stay for the whole 60 minutes or whatever we commit to. And as a result, our combined audiences will attract more people into the room. But if you do it by yourself, that tends to be disappointing unless you're already like a celebrity or you've got some giant following and stuff already, like in the thousands. So the best way I've seen to start is not even so much like a certain number of followers exactly, but like in my case, I'm almost to 1,000. So if you co-modded a room with me, you'd probably get followers from it too. But I like to have co-mods, maybe like 3 to 5 different co-mods, people who, again, who are committed to staying the whole time and having this conversation. So even if there's only a few people in the room, we can still talk instead of standing up there, me by myself, like, all right, so none of y'all want to come up here and talk. So I guess I'll just run my mouth for 60 minutes, which I can do. I can do that. Not everybody can do that. I can do it. But it's a lot of pressure, right? So yeah, so that's what I would say is you can start your own rooms for sure. What you want to do is know people with whom you can have that conversation to help other people feel encouraged to come up. It's like once they see a few people up there talking, then they're like, okay, yeah, let's get up here and talk. So that would be my recommendation. So you want to do some rooms, we can do some rooms.
Okay. All right. So when you start doing a room, co-mods first. Make sure
that is definitely what I'd recommend. It will make you feel so much better too, because you're like, look, I got people up here with me already. Like, this is great.
Yeah. Plus, it's nice just collaborating with people, especially when you are like us, where you work from home and you like crave people.
Yeah.
Okay. So last question. So you could go make Evelyn lunch. When we were on the phone the other day, you mentioned that a lot of the relationships that you were able to build and ended up turning into clients and alignment or discovery calls. They went from ClubHouse and you guys started talking on Instagram or LinkedIn, or can you tell me more about that, how you transitioned that relationship?
Yeah. So, like I said, so I'm not a huge like buy my stuff type of person. Like I'm doing a workshop later today. But and so I've mentioned the workshop because it's something that's happening right now. But usually what I'll do is I'll say something, I make it clear who I am and what I do. And I'm not afraid to say, hey, so I actually worked with I was talking to a client about this last week. So I'm going to tell you some of the things that we extrapolated from that. And that'll be what I wrap my ClubHouse statement or story around, right? In terms of when it's my turn to talk. So I do things like that. So people are pretty clear, like, okay, Ruthie does this. Oh, and she's talking about her, working with clients and things like that. So I make it clear that I work with people. So if you like what I have to say, let's get in the DMs. And so so that's what typically happens is people will say, oh, you said XYZ and that was so amazing. And then I kind of let the conversations go organically, to be honest, because then they'll ask like, okay, so you said brand strategist, but like, what does that mean? Maybe they're not super, on it. And I'll say, hey, like I do this, this, and this. And they say, oh, okay, you know what? That actually sounds like really, really good. I think I might need to, can we explore working together? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Let's schedule that. Like I give them my calendar link and let's go. Sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, I'd love to have you on my podcast. I'm like, okay, cool. And we schedule the podcast. And after the podcast is over, what you had to say, that just really resonated with me. I think I know some people I can connect you with. Some people who need what it is that you're offering. So for me, it's incredibly organic. Like I couldn't say like, hey, here's a script, but I think there's a lot of power. People out here like, what's the secret? Right. But it's like you said, even on other platforms, people can think you're awesome. But if you don't make it clear, like, hey, this is what I do and how I can help you. This is how you can work with me. Hey, if you think you need this, send me a DM. Let's schedule a call. Like if you're not out there saying that type of stuff, and again, not in a salesy way, you're just letting people know that the opportunity exists. Yeah. If you don't let them know it exists, they will probably not ask you. And what's going to happen is what happened to me. People are like, Ruthie's awesome. I'm not sure what she does, but I know everything she does is awesome. But when they don't know what you do, they're like, I'm confused. And confused people don't buy.
Yes. Yes. I think that is insanely important is one, build organic relationships, real relationships with people. And two, make it clear what you do and how you can help people. And talk about how you help people all the time. I have had the same thing where someone is like, oh, I didn't know you worked with clients. Oh, well, I need this. And it's like, they were interested in what I do, but they had no idea that I could actually do it for them. And that's a normal thing for businesses to know, is that you have to talk about what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. And again, that's on any platform. And again, it does not have to be like, I know people like, well, I don't want to sound really spammy, but it's like, are you being spammy? Or are you just letting people know what's up? Like this thing probably consumes all of your day, but you're afraid to tell people how they could work with you if they needed what you had to offer.
Yeah.
And that, again, that kind of goes into mindset. And then we could also talk about like ethics and stuff, because if you're comfortable telling people, no, at this time, this isn't a good fit for you. If you are comfortable with that, like you will tell people it's not a good fit for them, then you are centered in your values. And therefore, if you're just letting people know, even if they schedule the call, if they're not a good fit, then you will give them other suggestions, maybe make a referral or whatever, then you have a lot of power in that situation. And you're actually doing them a disservice by not making sure they at least know what you could do to help them. So not just you and your business a disservice, but you're doing them a disservice, because they're still going to have this problem. They're still going to walk around with this problem, wondering who could help me. And there you are right there, but you won't tell them.
That is such a good point, is that like you have your business because people have a problem that you can solve. You need to tell people how you solve their problem, or they'll never know how to solve it.
Yep.
That's your job.
Exactly. But you're afraid to tell people.
Yes. It's such a vicious cycle that so many small businesses get into. They feel like they're being too salesy, but really you're just teaching people.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Before you hop off, can you tell us about your workshop?
Yes. So in about 30 minutes, actually, we're going to be doing something called the Why Workshop. And I'm going to be walking 9 entrepreneurs. So I limited the seats. My cap was 10. So there are 9 people who signed up. We're going to be diving into the different layers of their why while exploring how they impact the various areas of their business. And I'm really excited about this because when I watch my own clients get clarity, see how I did that? When I watch my own, see, that's how you do it.
There you go.
But when I watch my own, like it's just like that. Like I'm just sharing, and it's true. It's not like I'm up here lying. Like, what do I have to be nervous about? They'll tell you they got clarity, but when I watch my clients get clarity on this, and this is one of the first steps that we work through, when they get clarity on this, it just infuses everything. It infuses the business decisions. It infuses sales. It makes your marketing magnetic. It just changes the game because you're no longer like, oh, why am I here? Oh, my revenue numbers. Like, no, you're here because of this why that you identified, this thing that you said was so important, right? And if you said it was that important and it's actually not, then you've got deeper to go, and that's what we'll be doing.
Yeah, then that's not your why.
Exactly, that's not your why. If everything has gone wrong that day, Zoom is not working, StreamYard won't load, you've had clients send you a whole bunch of emails with stuff and they're like unhappy or whatever. If your why does not remind you why you need to soldier on, then it's not your why.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people about their why and have had them switch their offers. Like they're like, oh, I wasn't supposed to be doing this. I was supposed to be doing this other thing. This business wasn't working. This offer wasn't working because I was out of alignment. And I was like, that's the power in the why.
You know what? You are completely right with that. I started off as a freelance writer on the side while marketing full time, and I could never gain traction until I figured out my why. Hey, I want to work with those small businesses that don't have a marketing department and don't know how to make that happen when they don't have a big team or a big budget. And as soon as I figured out what was really important to me and how I can serve them, then it just, clicked into place. But before that, it was just swimming upstream.
Yep, that's right.
Yes. So let us know next time you have another why workshop so we can sign up. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. Good luck on your
having me. Thank you so much. Fun conversation. A wonderful thing on Friday. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. All right. Bye. Thank you, everyone who joined me today. I had so much fun chatting with Ruthie and learning about her workshop in ClubHouse, which I'm going to get on as soon as I get off this now. So don't forget, every single Friday, we go live at 11 a.m. Central on YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And before you go, if you enjoyed this show, do a couple of things. First, sign up for our newsletter so you get first access to live streams and all of the content that we're creating. Here you go. And the link is also in the description. Like and comment on this video so other people see it and it goes up in the feeds. And subscribe wherever you're watching. Thank you guys. Mwah, mwah.